Attention ornithologists, Project Puffin plays a prominent part in today's show. I'm Carl Azus, that story's coming up in just a few minutes. Right now though, let the debate begin. On Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, incumbent Republican President Donald Trump and Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Joe Biden will meet face-to-face for the first time on the debate stage. It's taking place at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. It was originally supposed to be held at the University of Notre Dame. The second debate in mid-October will be at the Adrian Arsht Center for the Performing Arts in Miami, Florida. It was originally planned for the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor. The venues aren't the only things changing this year. Usually between 900 and 1,200 people attend presidential debates in person, in addition to tens of millions who watch live. But ain't nothing usual about 2020. Because of social distancing, far fewer people will be attending Tuesday's debate. And there will be some differences in how the candidates interact with each other, as well as with the debate's moderator, Chris Wallace from Fox News. We'll have more details on all this later in the week. The topics are set to include the Trump and Biden records, the Supreme Court, COVID-19, also the economy, race and violence in American cities, and the integrity of the election. We're planning to bring you some of the highlights in tomorrow's show. Meantime, CNN's Tom Foreman has a retrospective on a couple more memorable moments from debates past.
The ground rules for this, as agreed by you gentlemen, are these.
In the heavily scripted and choreographed world of modern presidential campaigning, debates offer a rare chance to see party nominees head-to-head, no advisors, no do-overs.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
And few have ever produced as many memorable moments as the master of campaign one-liners.
There you go again.
Well, a lot of what this campaign is about, it seems to me, Bernie, gets to a question of value.
The ability to seamlessly weave common language and policy points is rare. George H.W. Bush could do it, so could Barack Obama.
I'm glad that you recognize that al-Qaeda is a threat, because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
Bill Clinton could turn that trick too.
Most people are working harder for less money than they were making 10 years ago. I think we can do better if we have the courage to change.
All of that, plus the sheer importance of it all, gets a massive audience. Last time around, the first debate drew more than 80 million viewers. People looking for one of those memorable moments, or maybe something to help make up their minds. Tom Foreman, CNN, Washington.
While Cleveland and much of the U.S. are feeling cooler weather this week, the forecast for the American West is hot, dry, and windy. And that's bad news for a region struggling with wildfires. Drought conditions have spread over 70% of the U.S. West. That makes the vegetation on the ground ripe for spreading potential fires. According to the National Interagency Fire Center, the United States has seen an average of 46,700 fires each year over the past decade. This year, the nation has seen more than 44,000 fires so far. Each year, an average of 6 million acres have burned in wildfires across the country. This year, more than 7 million acres have already been lost, and there are still 3 months to go in 2020. In California, where there have been more than 8,100 fires this year, the state's largest utility company has intentionally shut off power to try to prevent more wildfires. Electrical equipment can spark and ignite new blazes. There were 65,000 shutoffs planned early this week. Pacific Gas and Electric wanted to wait until high winds had passed and make sure no power lines were blown over or damaged before restoring electricity through them. The National Weather Service expects that hot, dry weather could settle over the American West for 1 or 2 weeks. The northeastern U.S. has also been suffering from drought conditions this year. Some of the rivers in that region are very low. The good news is that unlike the West, rain is in the forecast for the Northeast. That could help states like Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Maine with their water resources. 10-second trivia. Which type of puffin is the smallest? Horned puffin, tufted puffin, rhinoceros auklet, or Atlantic puffin? Of the 4 puffin species, the Atlantic puffin is the smallest. It stands at 10 inches tall. Chances are when you envision a puffin, the Atlantic is the one that comes to mind, with its brightly colored beak and orange webbed feet. Also known as sea parrots, these small birds can be found throughout the North Atlantic Ocean, from the US and Europe to Greenland and northern Russia. Most of them live in Iceland. The National Audubon Society says that 60% of Atlantic puffins breed there. But there's an effort to bring them back to northern Maine. And what started with one man's Puffin Passion Project has turned into a successful effort to repopulate puffins off the coast of Maine.
For 47 years, Stephen Kress has had a central passion.
My mission for life has been to learn more about the ocean birds.
At the heart of the mission, a very special species, the puffin.
Because they look and act kind of like people. People can relate to them. The way they walk, the pair rubs bills together, the way they raise their family.
Puffins had all but disappeared from the Maine coast after being hunted for food and feathers back in the 1800s. In 1973, Kress began an effort to bring them back to eastern Egg Rock, this tiny speck of an island just 30 minutes off the mainland. It wasn't an easy task. They had to transplant young seabirds from Canada.
The puffin chicks from Newfoundland were put in each of these burrows, hand-fed, and then they would come out when they were 6 weeks old, and they would work their way to the edge of the island and swim off.
For 4 straight years, none of the puffins came back.
So I began trying to think like a puffin. And I realized that if young puffins did remember this island, maybe they wouldn't come ashore because they were too timid. Puffins are social birds, and they like being with others of their kind.
Kress tried placing fake puffin decoys around the island. Within days, the first puffin returned.
That decoy experience was the first beginning of what we now call social attraction. Social attraction simply means you're attracting birds using artifacts like decoys, audio recordings, mirrors, scent, artificial burrows. Those techniques sort of give birds a little encouragement to start the nucleus of a new colony.
Project Puffin has come a long way. Kress says there are now at least 1,300 pairs of puffins across 5 Maine islands.
Project Puffin is a little bit of a miracle. One person's passion, Steve Kress, to save a particular species inspired a whole group of people to pitch in. These social attraction techniques are now critically contributing to the restoration of many threatened and endangered species across the world.
Oh, what a cutie. Look at that. That's a puffin teenager.
Humans no longer need to hand rear the chicks. The puffins are doing a great job of that all by themselves.
In Holliston, Massachusetts, the balancing rock has lost its balance. This is what it used to look like. Geologists say it balanced like this for thousands of years. The rock has a village and a street named after it, but this is what it looks like now, more of a fallen rock. Residents just found it like this last Tuesday. Legend has it that President George Washington once tried to push it over. Maybe that started the process. So would it be possible to bring in some heavy machinery and just move it back? One expert says no. So something that was once really nice to marvel at has lost some of its coldness, and the anthracite will never be the same. Of course, nothing lasts forever. Guess they'll just have to wipe the slate clean, chalk it up to nature, and try not to take anything else for granted. Okay, you might have seen that last one coming, but it still rocks. And so do the students of Morville High School in Morville, Mississippi. It is great to have the troopers watching today. YouTube.com/CNN10 is the place to subscribe and to tell us where you're watching from. I'm Coral Azus.